Lastly, tonight, some of you are probably going to be wondering, especially the longtime fans out there who knew that I said that I would rather eat broken glass than buy a Wii U. And yet, yeah, picked up my deluxe model today, finally saved up enough for it, scraping together pennies, doing odd jobs, birthday money, Christmas money, so on and so forth. Although I don't have the Wii U Motion Plus, or the Wii Motion Plus, and this is the only game thus far that needs the Wii U Motion Plus. So I can't do multiplayer without either buying the little module to put with my old Wii controller, or I have to buy a whole new one, which is about 40 bucks. So tomorrow I'm probably going to go back, trade in a whole bunch of games, and try and get that controller because I kind of sucked. I mean, granted, yes, it makes it more accurate, and I can appreciate, especially after watching Game Grumps play through Nintendo Land, which was a good chunk of why I decided to actually get into it, because I love the plastic look of everything, how it translates your Mii's into something that is like, holy cow, that's really incredibly awesome. The ways that they do that, I like that. So here's my feelings about it. I kind of like the gamepad because amazingly the gamepad will work with my TV. I can use the gamepad as a TV remote. It can change all my selectors for whichever output I have going at the time. I'm like, holy crap, that's actually pretty awesome. I like the touchscreen. I don't like the internet on it. No, because with my PS Vita, if I click on the internet browser, instead of running a test, if I just pick, say, my guest network, where I can log in with my password, which logs, of course, my computer out, but whatever, I could do that on, say, the Vita. I could do that on, say, the PS3. I could do that to some extent, well, not so much on the 360, but again, it just goes to show how behind the times Nintendo is. I'm sorry, they are not innovators. This Wii U just shows what the Wii could have and should have been. The graphics, especially of just Nintendo Land, is outrageously awesome. And my son, his head nearly exploded when we started booting this up and having fun with it. And honestly, I don't blame him. I like that the Wii U has greater connectivity to my 3DS, and I was able to port over some of my favorite Mii's instead of having to recreate them. And on and on and on. So right now, unless I can get onto the main secured network, because this one won't let me get into the guest network, which that would be easy. But this is Nintendo. Nothing's ever easy with them. I mean, think about the file transfer content. Think about the problems with the eShop and your content. Think about how the fact that your content is tied directly to your console and to your Nintendo ID, and that it can cost you twice as much to regain your software if you say A, do something stupid, in which case, well, I don't exactly have sympathy for you, or something actually does happen with the hardware that's not your fault, and they say, well, that's fine, but you're going to have to pay us for this. I have to find a special spot for this gamepad because if anything happens to it, that's a $175 piece of machinery. That's half the cost of the frickin' system as it is. And if I wanted to buy a second one, $175. And who knows how much to service this. And there's a watch battery. Why is there a watch battery in my Wii U? I mean, granted, those things don't like burn out. They're horrible, but I'm like, why am I looking in the manual and finding that there's a watch battery in my Wii U? Those flat little circular, disc batteries. Granted, it's a common one, which I remember from my days as a Target electronics specialist, but it just pisses me off because I've had experience with watch batteries and systems. I own and operate still a Neo Geo Pocket, which I love the hell out of it, but the fact that it needs that little watch battery in order to properly go through all of its boot up, because that keeps the clock running and the horoscope thing, which is an interesting idea, but anyways. It's a pain, because then it's something else I've got to unscrew, something else that could go wrong with the system, something else that could become a headache for me. As this system, to some degree, on some levels, is kind of giving me a headache as it is, to a small degree. But it is great. You know? It is great in terms of the games. It's not great in terms of the hardware, and I stand by that. This is a very, very poorly designed hardware, with the exception of the gamepad. But I'm kind of like, I'm just sitting there with all my experience with the Wii. I'm sitting here going, why, Nintendo? Why didn't you just release this now? Now we could talk about, oh well, you know, the technology wasn't there. You've got a Wii on the market. You're claiming that the Wii is confusing people. You're claiming that the Wii is somehow stopping people from buying a Wii U. Which is why maybe rebranding it, instead of calling it a Wii U, you could call it something else. Something different. Something better. And then I go on to GameFly, I'm like, yay, I can finally access Wii U titles. Except for most of the Wii U stuff that I want isn't even released yet. This is about the only thing that I really care to play right now. Everything else, I've either played a version of it on my 3DS, or it doesn't interest me in the slightest. But to be honest with you, this is phenomenal. Nintendo Land is everything I thought it was going to be and more. The Metroid games, all these other things are so phenomenal. But the fact that it needs the Motion Plus excludes me, an ex-Wii owner, from being able to do multiplayer right now without paying even more money. And that's what I told you from the start. But at least I got the deluxe model, because I was not going to waste my time with the stupid basic model. Because when it comes right down to it, you're going to spend as much for the basic model plus Nintendo Land as you're going to spend for the deluxe unit. And at least the deluxe unit has the tablet charger, though the tablet controller can actually plug in directly so that you can charge it off that. But now all the free space I had on my strip is taken up by the stupid Wii U and the Wii U controller charger. And the Wii U controller does not hold a charge for very long. I got about 2.5 hours, not 3, off a fully charged one. Yes, I charged it before I played it. And trying to play it on the charger is just... And so right now I couldn't rent Skyward Sword and play it because I don't have the backwards compatibility, because I haven't gone through the update. The update that I'm not looking forward to, although it's much less of a hassle than it was at the launch of this system. Which is why, even if I ever did buy a new system, it will never ever be at launch. Sony certainly doesn't know what they're doing half the time. Microsoft still pushes systems out before they're actually ready. And Nintendo is following suit with Microsoft. I would have rather started out with this than the Wii, to be honest with you. I really would. Even with some of the issues that I have with it, I would have rather had this than the Wii. And it just shows how uninnovative Nintendo can be, while everybody is willing to say, oh, Nintendo, they're so innovative. Oh, they've got the best creators. They've got the best this. They've got the best that. One question, why is it in the Pikmin game when I get eaten and I get, for lack of a better term, pooped out, my character is in the middle of giant poop? No, I'm serious. Go look up the Pikmin game here on YouTube. I'm sure somebody's done a video of it. Look, I'm not a prude when it comes to content, but You're Nintendo! You don't do poop! What the hell is poop doing in my Nintendo land? On one level, part of me finds it very humorous, but on another level, I'm going, oh, God, why? Was this really necessary? Oh, you got pooped out by the mechanical capsule toy bear blarbs in the game, which I think is a smart idea. The bear blarbs being mechanical and capsule toys, I think that's freaking awesome. But this doesn't make any sense. But the archery is awesome, the Zelda game is awesome, the Metroid game is awesome, but the poop thing, I just, why? Was it really that necessary? I'm serious. It does bug me because I'm just like, this, you're better than this, Nintendo. Is this what you've devolved into? You're like, well, our competitors, they do poopy jokes, so we'll throw in a poopy joke ourselves and be like our competitors. Instead of being Nintendo. Why are you not being Nintendo anymore, Nintendo? This and the system and all the debacle surrounding the system and your inability to acknowledge that you done goofed bugs me because you're exactly like your competitors now. There is no difference between Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft now. And yes, I will stand by that statement. Because you're doing exactly what they have been doing with their systems or some of their system stuff, only you're doing it worse. You have a system that cannot charge the controller and requires a watch battery. And you put poop in your games. Still, despite that, I'm not joking. I would have rather this is what you should have been doing. This would have been innovative in the time of the Wii. This would have decimated Sony and Microsoft, well, with some improvements to the hardware, obviously, if this had been your offering, not that thing. Yes, I had some fun with the Wii, but that's beside the point. It wasn't enough to justify the new control system. It wasn't enough to justify all the issues, the headaches, a lot of the things that you've solved here. And don't give me that, well, the technology was more expensive. Then wait. God, everybody's so damn impatient when it comes to the gaming industry. We've got to push out new hardware, never mind if it's finished. We've got to push out games, even if we know that they're going to be a dud. We've got to... Everything's about push, push, push. Doesn't anybody have patience anymore? Doesn't anybody understand how to craft hardware anymore? Makes me sad that people who are ahead of their time like Sega are dead, and people like Nintendo who are so far behind the times, especially with just something as simple as the internet, are considered innovators and held up as the pinnacle of the gaming industry. Excuse me if I disagree.